coming, so we're all good. Do you have any questions or anything you wanted to chat about just briefly before anybody came or before we get them in?
No, it's good. I mean, I think you and I can have a chat later on because I do have a podcast, and depending on what you do, you might be a good fit to be a guest on my podcast when it comes to like the Thrive Together community. So if you, I don't know if you're
Okay.
up for that.
Yeah, let's talk about what we do and how we intersync, because I think there's some relatability, but also different approaches in terms of what we do in different ways. So I'm happy to consider that as an option. I'd love to. Okay, I'm going to let Elise in. And as people trickle in, I know Elise, so she's actually one of the speakers. I think that's the same person. And the other ones I haven't seen pop up yet, but if they come, I'll let them in too and give them a few more minutes, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. Good afternoon, Elise. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. We're just going to wait a few minutes for somebody to come on in. We do have a few people registered, just so you know you're not alone. But you know how some of these go. Sometimes people come out, sometimes they don't. And we always welcome everybody to be here when they can be here. So nice to have you, though. How are you today, Elise?
I'm just gonna grab water.
I'm good. I'm in the car, so I'm not on video, but I am doing well. How are you, Amanda?
Oh, that's okay. You be safe. I'm doing
not
well.
driving, so just
Oh, well, either way, you know, I sometimes drive and listen to things, so it's okay. Just always be safe. I'm doing okay, and looking forward to today's talk as well. Tree is very established in what she does, but I'm getting to know her still, so I don't know all the ins and outs about all of her expertise,
I think,
but I'm sure you will hear about it.
but I think Elise, you know me, right? This is the right Elise.
yes, it is.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
get
Yeah,
out.
she knows me very
That's so
well. Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple of other people from my community like that was gonna come out as well. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's so nice. How do you know each other then?
So I'm her trainer. So she owns an awesome company called Anxiety Hub, and she's an awesome uh practitioner. She helps people in all kinds of different ways. Uh yeah, well, go ahead, Elise. Tell her. Tell her how awesome you
Oh,
are.
well, I know a
Uh,
little bit about what Elise does, and she does strike me as awesome, so that's good. But
Yeah.
you're more than welcome to share more about it, Elise.
yes, I did a couple of months ago. I did one of these talks with Amanda, and so with Tree, yeah. So I've been learning from Tree at the Hypnosis Training Canada and at the Burlington Hypnosis Center to incorporate the wonderful work that she does and hypnosis and NLP into the work that I do.
That's amazing. Congratulations, Elise, and to you, Tree, too, for having the audience come out and support you today. I think that's fantastic, and I'm always interested to learn how everything functions. I'm not familiar with hypnosis very well, but I appreciate how helpful it can be to many. So again, I don't know if people will come in, if they'll trickle in. If it helps us, because we're going to be recording it and sharing it out, we can just get started for purposes of time. And then I will share it out to everybody, Tree, so that they have it as well. And I'm going to kind of walk through some of the concepts and, you know, start us off this way. But at any time, we have Brittany joining us and kind of get going. Is that okay with you?
Sounds good.
Okay, fantastic. A curious question because I'm in a different setting. Can you see my screen or do you see my Teams? And
Uh
welcome, Brittany.
yeah, I just see you. I see like the 4 squares here.
Oh, you see Teams. You don't see the slides?
No.
Oh.
I don't see slide deck.
You don't see the slide deck. Okay, that's unusual. Let me try again and see what's going on. How about now?
Yeah, now I can see the slides.
Okay, perfect. Do you only see the slides or see my Teams? Because the Teams is kind of popping up for me.
Yeah, I see the slides and then I see all the pictures on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I can't seem to get away with it. Okay, let me see if I can minimize this. Okay, there. As best as I can do it. Okay, welcome everybody to the Thrive Together community on how to stop self-sabotage and relational breakdown. This session is complimentary and we have a great speaker here for you today. And before I introduce her, I do want to be able to just remind you of the Thrive Together community and invite you to connect to it. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, Luma, Eventbrite, and subscribe to our mailing list. And I'll put some of this in the chat in a little while. The Thrive Together community is a place where business owners and experts and folks in this space who are trying to do great things with their business are coming together to learn value added ways of doing this. This is not about selling to you. This is not about exactly what we do, but how we offer things back to the community to help build your awareness towards things that are going on, whether that's with webinars as we are here together or in persons, which may happen in the future, and other ways to connect and learn. So thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to seeing you to future ones. And if there are other topics that you haven't seen cited or that you're interested to learn more about, please do let me know and we'll see how we can get that going. And if you know other people who might be invited and willing to be part of this in their own way and have something unique to bring, that'd be great too. So quickly, I know Tree has a lot of things that she's going to be offering you today, and she'll have her own agenda to share. But is there anything anybody was in the community hoping for that you just wanted to let us know about? And if we have the space and availability, we can keep that in mind, include it, consider it for other things. Anybody? You can just come off mute and let us know.
Know that whatever Tree talks about today will be helpful. So I am open-minded.
Fantastic. Thank you, Elise. I'm just checking if there was anything in the chat. I'm sorry, I'm putting this up here. Okay, I don't hear anything else. So with that in mind, just know that today is about the topic at hand, but with tools and experiential ways of doing things. And you're welcome to ask any questions at any time. So who am I? I'm Amanda Cadolayo. I'm an executive team coach and a mediator. Everything I do comes from the lens of clarity with care. I work with family business owners, small, medium-sized enterprise, mission-driven organizations, and my background's in healthcare and higher ed. And why I'm doing this is because I've worked with a lot of great people and seen a lot of great things that they're doing. And also know that we don't always have the answers as business owners or experts, and we need a community to help us do a lot of those things. And I hadn't really seen one that does something like this, so I wanted to help build it. And that's why I'm here. I come from that perspective of transitions and looking at how to manage conflict, how to bring people together. And in many ways, while we take different approaches, my understanding is that Tree is also a coach, but she does it in a different way. And she manages a hypnosis center, which I think is really neat. So she's going to be leading this topic today. She is a masterful in NLP, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for. So I hope you can fill me in on that, Tree, because I don't have it in front of me. And if you have other things you want to introduce yourself, please do. But over to Tree. Thank you for being here and for providing us with this wonderful peace of mind of topic. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So it's interesting, just in terms of the people that are here. I'm probably going to pivot a little bit more into the relevancy of who's actually here and who I'm speaking to. And that's what I do all the time. So when it comes to when we look at sabotaging and we look at the relationships that we're in, that one of the biggest things that we can sabotage is that when we're communicating with somebody, and if we're focused on our own emotions at the time, we're going to communicate with the people in front of us in the emotion that we are in. If we indulge the emotion, all of a sudden we can end up in insecurities, we can end up in judgment. And if we stay in those places, all of a sudden we're accidentally, not on purpose, accidentally ruining relationships because we can say something that we don't mean. We might overly compliment somebody because we're in our own insecurities. And that's one of the biggest things that people end up doing when they end up in, like, some people call it like the please mode, where it's not necessarily they're pleasing on purpose, but that they'll interact with somebody in a way in which that they're trying to get the person to like them, or they don't want to upset the person that they're talking to. But it all really just stems from uh, how it is that we've been brought up. Like, if we've been brought up that in order for us to get attention growing up, that we had to either please a parent or do so much in the household to get the admiration, like, oh, get the, oh, good job, oh, well done, right? So I'm going to pull up the slides here, just so I can play off these as well. So when we talk about change, there's no change if you guys can see my screen, yes?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. So when we talk about human change, if we keep our behavior exactly the way that it is, there's zero growth. And it's interesting because when we are, and I hate to use the word triggering, but if we are defaulting on something that happened to us in our past, then our behavior, even as we're adults, is not going to be relevant to the situation at hand. So whether we're talking about building relationships for business, whether just building relationships for dating or speed dating, or just wanting to be in a new community for yourself, that if we keep our same patterns, the same sabotage is going to happen throughout, no matter what community that you're in, or whether you're with any friends, or meeting people. Because a common thing that happens is that these are the four main coping stances that we are in. So we're either blaming, we're either pleasing, we're computing, or distracting. And these are created by a very well-renowned family therapist called Virginia Satir. And she came up with a metaphor to describe how it is that us as humans are coping in our lives in these ways. And the metaphor that she came up with, it goes like this. There's four people in a boat, and there's a hole in the boat's sinking. And the blamer says, who put the hole in the boat? The pleaser or the placater. And I'm doing these hand gestures, but if you're just listening to it, it's fine. You don't need to know the hand gestures. But basically, for the pleaser, it says that I'll swim to shore so the boat won't sink so fast. And all of us as human beings, we end up in one of these four categories. The computer says at this rate, this boat's going to be sunk in 3.4 minutes. And the distractor says, look, there's a bird. So none of them are fixing the hole in the boat. So with Virginia Satir, not only is she a well-known family therapist, but she was also adding these pieces to help family dynamics and relationships, because our relationships start with our own family dynamics. And if our family dynamics goes sideways, it's generally because, like, that one person in the family is ending up in one of these four categories. So for example, if a mom is trying to please the kids, or the mom's trying to please people at work, or the mom's trying to please all kind of different things, then all of a sudden, um, what will happen is she'll end up in overwhelm. She'll end up maybe blaming the husband. She'll end up maybe blaming kids or blaming parents, or she'll end up in some sort of um, overwhelm and then be exhausted. And when this happens, a lot of times what I've seen is that a mom or a dad, they're not getting what they need from their partners, so then they'll try to get what they need from the kids. And so when it comes to just building relationships for business or for your own community, then you're building it to almost triangulate. Like you're building it and it's not relevant. The relevancy filter is not where it needs to be. And so what will happen is that people will veer off from a relationship that they need. So I'll give you an example. Um, one person that I was coaching, they really wanted to create a relationship with this business owner where their skill set would would help the business grow. And so they wanted to create a relationship with the owner of the business or even like a C-suite person within the business itself. So what happened is this gal started to create a relationship with one of the people. They went in, started to please the person, please the person. But the person just, it was too much. So all of a sudden they sabotaged the potential relationship. Then what this female did, started to make up all kinds of stories in her mind to devalue why she should not go and create the relationship with this business, which she could have done amazingly great with this business, but she was operating on her emotions. And if she's operating from her emotions, then the relevancy of why she needs to have the relationship in the first place is not there. So she even went to another person and did the same thing. And then all of a sudden, those two people in the company was just like, didn't understand where she was coming from because she wasn't focused on the outcome of to help the business grow. She was focused too much on like seeing what it is that she can do for these people without getting financially compensated. So it was confusing the company. It was confusing the people in the company because they didn't know what she was offering. She was too focused on trying to please them or to try to get them to like her, as opposed to the outcome of what the business actually needed. So once, like, when I was working with her, we found another business, and once she learned that she could actually interact differently and be more relevant to what the company needed, to talk to the company about, oh, this is where the gaps are. This is the pain of the problem in the business. And then teaching them about a solution, which then in turn, once she's talking about the pain of the problem, coming to the solution, and and taking away the risk to have her working there or to have her go in and just do a presentation. So this is the way that the brain makes a decision. So the relevancy of building relationships is there. Okay, you wouldn't necessarily do this if you're looking for more friends or community, but if you're looking to onboard a new client, if you're a business owner, or even if, say, you are in management and you're looking to get an advancement in your job to move up the ladder in the business that you're working on, you can still do a presentation in this way. So I'm just going to share my screen again, because if we're pleasing, then we're not in relevancy. We're not actually getting to where we want to go. So I'm going to skip to how the brain makes a decision. So we need to start off with the pain of the problem. So even with our relationship with ourselves, if we're blowing things off when we're in our head, telling ourselves like, oh yeah, I just need to please the person like this. I need them to make them like me. There's no relevancy. You're keeping yourself in just running in circles, basically. But when you're interacting with a business and you're wanting to uh, work with the business to some capacity, or even just work with an individual client, then this is the format. So you're getting into the pain of the problem, you're showing a solution, you're taking away a risk, you're asking for action. The penalty for not responding. So with this gal that working for this business, she was letting the business know that if they don't fix this, that they're losing money, they're losing revenue, or they're losing even relevancy within their own business. And then when you're future pacing, she's giving them more of painting a picture of how it would look like for her working in the business, her being a subcontractor in the business, or her maybe doing a talk for the business. If this is for an example for an individual client, then the individual client, you're giving an example for if they're coming for you for a specific situation, then obviously they are already in some pain. So you're exploring that pain. You're exploring how it is that you can train them out of it. You're exploring how it is that it's safe to do that. Because a lot of people, they'll keep a problem because it's giving them something. They'll keep a problem because it maybe keeps them in self-pity. Maybe it keeps them in a certain frame of mind. But it's important that you all know, whether you're live here or you're listening to this later on, that we all have some sort of sabotage. Like we've all been to a dinner party and then you're laying in bed at night and you're just like in your head, oh, should I have said that? Or should I have said this? Or whatever the case may be. We all want to connect with people. We all want admiration. We all want to know that we're doing things right. And so, but all of these things can come out in some odd and funky ways. So when we're looking at change and how to get out of sabotage, are you indulging your blaming? Are you blaming yourself? Or are you blaming other people? Are you pleasing? Are you computing? Are you overthinking things and then just not showing up at all? Right? There's so many people. I just had a call just before this, and somebody was mentioning that they had friends that would watch Netflix all the time and that they had all this time to watch Netflix, where the truth is people are hiding out. So are you hiding out in something? Are you hiding out in looking for a process? Are you hiding out in hanging around with people? Like, what is it that you're hiding out from? Yeah, yeah, you can ask questions. Go for it. Oh, you don't have a question. You're just, no, okay. So,
I was just inviting everybody to ask if they had one.
oh, okay. Yeah.
I apologize for the extra question mark.
No,
It was
that's
intended.
no, it's all good. It's all good. So even like I did a workshop a couple weeks ago, and the people that were at the workshop, they were constantly apologizing. It was a 4-day workshop, and everybody was like, oh, sorry, oh, sorry, oh, sorry for this. And so it was very interesting to see that that's something that needed to shift for the whole class. So we did this awesome exercise, and I encourage all of you to practice this on your own after I teach it. That I got everybody to come up. So when we teach, it's like a hybrid class. We got some people online and we have lots of people in person. And so each people in person, we had them all line up. I think there's like 20 of us in person, and I think 10 or 20 online. I forget the exact number, but um, so each person in person went to somebody online and they said to them, I'm sorry. And then they right after they said, I'm sorry, they said something that they're good at. And so it was a very interesting exercise because every human being throughout that exercise, they heard a different tone of voice and somebody say the word sorry in a different way. Some people said, I'm sorry. Some people just said sorry. Some people said, wanted to know the person's name and said the person's name in front of sorry. So everybody has their own concept or belief of how in which that they, whether they're sorry about something or they feel sorry. But if you say something that you're good at right after, it changes in your nervous system. Because if people are just saying I'm sorry arbitrarily about everything everywhere, that their nervous system begins to feel it's my fault. And from a nervous system perspective, if we have all of these people walking around in fear of being to blame, that's nuts in terms when it comes to like living in a society that everyone thinks that they're to blame. So that means that we're all walking around trying to prove that we're not to blame instead of actually staying focused on building the relationships that you need, building the relationship with yourself of how you need it to be. So when once everybody, we were about halfway through this exercise, so there was literally like 20 to 30 or 40 people, however many people were there, that once everybody went through it, everybody's nervous system began to relax because they were more focused on what people were good at. And there was interesting stuff. There was somebody that was good at not feng shui, sheng kong or something, some sort of like energy thing. There was somebody that was good at uh, rugby, like just the things that you wouldn't even think about. Or you look at the person and you're like, oh, I wouldn't have put the two to two together. So it puts our brain into a curiosity state. It goes from I'm not to blame and that I don't have to say sorry, I can let go of the whole sorries, to being in curiosity. And when our brain is in a curiosity state, all of a sudden we feel better. We're making better decisions for ourselves. We're stepping into more curiosity. And when our brain is in curiosity, we come up with solutions better. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I really appreciate that. As somebody who likes to bring people together, I think that's a great approach to help people understand that about themselves and how we work, and your approach to understanding that nervous system, how important it is for us as human beings to do that, and kind of building off a short micro example in the chat. So I do want to see if anybody has questions. I know you're both away from chat. That's why I'm coming off to see if there are any, and feel free to also bring them in. And yeah, and back to you, Tree.
Yeah. So Elise or Brittany, do you guys have any questions or?
Okay, wonderful.
No, she's driving. So yeah, I'll keep going because it's an interesting topic that comes up a lot. And it's actually, so I literally just flew in last night from Florida because I was doing a training and teaching down in Florida just this past weekend. And it's a very different group of how it is, like different cities, different even provinces probably, different countries, they all have a different thing. Like down there, it was like very much about respect. Like everybody was calling me ma'am. Like it was very like yes, ma'am. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the learning, ma'am. Just like, so it was weird, and there was zero sorries. Like there's zero, like, so it's interesting from a cultural perspective of how, because even when people were calling me ma'am, like my nervous system was just like, oh, like I felt like I don't know, like I just that because my view on the world is that we are all as humans, we are just ordinary human beings. There's no human that's better or worse. We are all just equal. So it made me feel like, oh, man, that I was being put a little bit up on a pedestal, which I knew it wasn't meant to be in that way. But it was an interesting thing that I noticed in my nervous system as people were just communicating with me in that way.
I've had the same experience going to Florida. Everybody says that.
Yeah, not just Florida. I've actually had that experience too, even here. Like if I had clients that were in the military, or it's not either a police officer or a firefighter, Yeah, but any kind of military structured like rules, things like that, definitely. So, and when to bring it back to communicating relationships and things like that, like notice it's I encourage everybody to notice what's happening in your nervous system when you're communicating. When you know that you want to build a relationship with somebody, do you hide out? Do you make up excuses in your head to avoid it? Like, do you end up in a conversation, or you go in, and I had another client of mine, this was the pattern that she had running, that she would go in, she'd go into the networking, she'd start talking to the person, and then she'd freak out and, oh, nice to meet you, and then she'd leave instead of actually having the conversation that she needs to have. And then she'd freak herself out and then just decide, oh, I can't do this, right? Which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. But we as humans, we need to have in our back pocket that we know that we're meant to communicate with one another. And the more that we're more settled within ourselves and that we can actually just feel grounded or calm in different conversations with people, the easier it is for us to get to where it is that we need to be, understanding that we all are just ordinary people, right? And so when we talk about our drivers, so our drivers in neurolinguistics, so NLP stands for neuro linguistic programming. And these NLP is about getting your mind in the right place with different tools and techniques. The NLP techniques are awesome, and they literally do get our mind in the right place. So in neurolinguistics, we have what's called meta models. And one of the meta models is a driver. And a driver is this, that we are either, our drivers are what motivate us. So the four main drivers are people, places, tasks, and systems or processes, systems or processes. So if you're not getting motivated, if you're hiding out, that means that you are not in your driver. So I'm very much like a people task person. So if I'm not around people, it's hard for me to get motivated. So like even I just wrote a book recently, it just got released. It's called I'll Do It Myself, Damn It, because I'm a pleaser. So I'll just, as pleasers, I'll do it myself, damn it, right? So, and in order for me to actually write the book, I had to have some sort of people like background. So I had to have either music playing, or I'd go to a cafe, or I know another famous author, he would always go to hotel lobbies because he liked the background noise and it was just constant movement and stuff. So if you're trying to get something done and you're procrastinating, see what your driver is. Do you have to be around people? Like even a lot of our weight loss clients, that if they want to get motivated to go to a fitness class, that, or go to the gym in general, that they'd have to get motivated because to go to an actual class, not go by themselves. Where some people, if they're process oriented, in order to go to the gym, they had to have a process. And as long as they had that process, it made them feel good because they're just following the process as opposed to getting caught up in emotions or getting caught up in unuseful thoughts around different things. So when we look at growth in relationships, growth in movement, growth in life in general, you want to know if you're people, places, tasks, or processes. So how do you know that? Well, you can ask yourself, if you were going to do something, do you feel good if you're around people or not? If the answer is not, you're probably not a people person. So it's kind of like a process of elimination. So places, if you're places, that means like, do you enjoy building a specific place either in your home, maybe it's your car, maybe it's at work, but your place has to be just so. If that's answer is yes, you're probably a place person. Places could also be that you enjoy new places. So if you're the type of person that always likes to go to a new restaurant or visit a different country or whatever the case may be, you're probably a places person. So if you're flexible with the place or not flexible, so it could be on either side. So tasks, I love tasks just because it's part of one of my drivers, right? Like, and I always joke about this. If you're the type of person that likes to make lists, or even if you do something and it's not on the list, you write on the list just so you can have the gratification of crossing it out, that it feels so good. So if anyone, as you're listening to this and you're just like, oh yeah, I love just like, that crossing things off the list just feels so good. You are definitely a task person. If even the thought of writing a list down stresses you out, you're not a task person. And so a process person, if you're the type of person that gets invited out somewhere and your brain automatically goes to like where, when, who's going to be there, what should I wear, where should I park, what time should I be there at, what kind of food's going to be, like they're looking for the process and they'll be asking all kinds of questions to figure out what that process is. And people that are people persons, they'll get frustrated by all the questions. That it'll be okay at first, but if you're not in one of these categories, you're frustrated by it. So me as a business owner, I've had to learn to be okay with processes because in businesses, you need processes. Yeah, go ahead.
So I really like that, and I've seen them and heard them, and I can relate to so many of them. And there might be live, learn, there's might be innate, based on your experience with NLP and the drivers that you have before you. How many do people tend to have? Like I know you said you have two. What do people generally have two? Can they have all four? Like what do you see?
Yeah, generally like people are normally two. If they're more than that, there might have been like something dramatic that happened. Like, so for example, I've worked with this couple and they're extremely like what we call freedom minded. And but and they're very much people. They love being around people and their places. They love different, and both the male and female, they're both like people and places. And it's interesting because they just go throughout life and they just go with the flow or whatever. They don't make lists. They don't like processes, but they had something crazy go with their finances. Like they lost a ton of money on something. And so when it comes to money or projects around the house, they're very process oriented. But with everything else in their life, they're people and places. Yeah, so we're normally only two. But if something happened in the life, then somebody might default because they were forced, like, oh, well, it's out of fear that they're doing that. But it's not a natural thing. We can teach ourselves to be better at other things. Like for me, again, I taught myself to be better at processes because I had to. If I didn't have processes in place for my businesses, you know, oh my gosh. Right? But I have a couple of employees that are really good at processes. So all like certain things, I'll like put it over to them. Like I have somebody that does all my social media. That is a process oriented thing, right? There has to like, and she'll show me the process and I'll just give her what she needs to stay within the process. So yeah, but generally we're always just two when it comes to like the meta models. Yeah, great question. So when it comes to building relationships, if you're not a people person and you're a process person, create a process to connect with people. Because if it doesn't matter what kind of business you're in, like for example, I was working with this guy and he owns a tech business and he's the only one, like he's a sole proprietor. And he said to me, he goes, Tree, he goes, yeah, no, Tree, I'm good. It's just me. I don't have to interact with people. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't interact with people? He's like, well, it's just me and I can do whatever I want and this and that. I said, well, who's your clients? Right? And he's like, oh, okay, right. Yeah, I guess I do interact with people. So I'm like, yeah, so your people skills might want to be in a certain way. So he was viewing it as just like, it's me, it's my business, and it's tech, and I don't have to interact with people. And he was in pride about that. And it was really funny when I was asking him that, because he's just like, oh, it like completely changed the way in which that he was viewing even his business, because he was in so much pride about like, well, I do this and I do that and this is da, da, da. And I'm like, well, who are you doing it for? Right? Like who gives you money to do it? Like, do you give yourself money? No, you don't. People give you money. Those are your clients. But it's interesting because our brain can only choose to see certain things. And we try to see the things that keep us safe or make us happy. Okay? So sometimes if we're in fear, we'll see some things and it'll keep us in fear, which is unuseful. Right? So be curious if you're seeing things and it's keeping you in fear, or if you're seeing things and it's keeping you happy, that we actually need a balance. There's not one that's better than the other, because we have to be safe, right? Like if we were just in happy, it's like, oh, I'm gonna cross the road, right? If we were just in happy, we're not looking left or right if we're safe. We're gonna get hit by a car. So there's some value to both sides, even as a business owner. If you're just happy and you're like, oh, we're gonna do this, where you could be spending money on advertising that's not working for you, right? So it's like, um, in the actual word for it is towards pleasure or away from pain in neurolinguistics. But they're just words, but it's the same thing. You're either in fear and you're worried about something, so you can talk yourself out of doing things, or you're overly joyful about things. And both is like missing the the opportunities, missing uh opportunities in relationships, right? So it's important, if you're a pleaser and that you're happy, happy, joy, joy, and you're like a cheerleader and everything, you're probably missing things. And if you're um either a nitpicker, or you're like, oh, I better watch this or I better watch this. I worked with somebody, and by the time she came to me, she's all in pride. She's like, yes, I spent the last 6, 7 months creating my business plan. And I'm like, oh, so you wasted a lot of time not knowing what your clients need yet. Because so it's interesting, because people, as a business owner, even in everyday life, you do not know exactly where you will be in 6 months. Even not as a business owner, just in your everyday life. You don't know if you'll end up with fall allergies, right? Right now it's spring. You don't know if you'll um, end up with an opportunity that can take you to a different country. You don't know if you'll meet somebody that changes your life. Like we've all experienced that. We've all met somebody that changed our life, whether it's your partner, whether it's a best friend, whether it's somebody that got you a job that you wanted, whether it's a random person that you bumped into that made you laugh, that gave you some advice that changed the trajectory of what it is that you're doing. So it's very important that as we're free flowing and that we're being more in the moment when it comes to relationships, other than we're sabotaging. So really having this clear um, vision for yourself, for you to be able to be open, be able to pivot, be able to see the opportunity and flow with it, because opportunities are all around us. But if we're stuck in blaming, pleasing, computing, or distracting, if we're stuck in these, we're missing out on the opportunities that are around us. So any questions about any of this stuff?
Feel free to come off mute. Not everybody's by the chat.
Yeah.
Any question's a good question. Always keep that in mind.
So yeah, So I'll keep going, but feel free to chime in if there's anything. So when we an interesting thing that's happening right now in society, and it's like a it's a coping stance, it's a coping mechanism, it's a way in which people are protecting ourselves, and this pattern is popping up in a lot of places because of social media, because of people ending up in some sort of fear. And what's happened with the pattern is people will meet somebody and then they'll love bomb the person. So they'll overly please, they'll be overly positive, they'll compliment the person, they'll do a ton of stuff. But then what happens is because they're not getting what they need, because they're overly love bombing, they're overly doing this, they're overly trying to please the person, and then their needs are not being met. So what will happen? They'll discard the person. So they'll love bomb, they'll discard, and then they'll be in their head because it's just because their needs are not being met. So they'll love bomb, they'll discard, then they'll devalue the person and they'll say, oh, well, I don't need them anyways, or they'll be in overwhelm, they'll be exhausted. Like everybody on this call, and even as if anyone that's listening to it later has had the experience of doing a lot for somebody else and not getting properly either financially compensated or the admiration or whatever the case may be, that they've experienced that in their life. So when that happens, this a little bit of loneliness sets in. So the devaluing, yeah, it makes it way more common now because of social media, right? Because when people put a post online, they'll get a lot of things like, oh, you're awesome. Oh, that's great. Where all of a sudden someone will put a post and get nothing. They'll start to devalue social media and then they'll discard it, they'll ignore it. But then all of a sudden a friend might show them something or they'll hoover back in. So that's the fourth thing. So they'll love bomb, they'll devalue, discard, and then they'll hoover back in. So between the discard and hoover is they'll discard, but then all of a sudden loneliness sets in. So if it's not social media, if it's an actual person, then they'll start feeling lonely, they'll miss the person, and then they'll call the person again or text the person, right? And everyone has done that themselves, and everybody has had that done to you. And it's important that we start recognizing and breaking these patterns. Otherwise, there's going to be more and more people running this pattern. And it's not going to be good. It can cause all kinds of other emotions. Where if we stay what's relevant with the situation, there's more of a maturity thing going on. There's more conversations, there's more communication, there's better communication. There's more relevancy when it comes to communication. And that's what we need. We need more relevancy when it comes to the communication so we're not sabotaging. So when we have relevancy, we are focused on outcomes, right? If we're focused on outcomes, even if we're posting anything on social media, so lots of people, they're posting things to get admiration or attention. So that's the love bomb. They're trying to love bomb the people that are uh, watching whatever it is that they're watching. So when we have the right relevancy filter on and we have our outcome in mind, then all of a sudden our relationships that we're interacting with people is way better. We're communicating what our needs are. So whether it's the needs of the outcome or even sometimes it's our own needs, right? Um, uh, like physically as human beings, like you're hydrated, you're fed, you've slept enough. Sometimes people forget those things matter because we're not going to show up in a relationship if we're tired or if we're hungry or we're not hydrated. So there's lots of things when it comes to building
So
Go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
No, something's wrong with my internet. It was giving me some issues, so I wasn't sure if you were there, but you are. If you want to finish your thought, and then we'll wrap up.
Yep, yep. So just my final thought for you guys is to stay super focused on your outcome and make sure that your actions and conversations are relevant to what the outcome is, and look after yourself. So yeah. Yeah, so
Okay,
thanks for
look
having
towards.
me.
Thank you, Tree. This was wonderful. Great tidbits of information in terms of how to approach decisions, how to look at how you're approaching relationships, how you're communicating along a vast variety of needs, not just your immediate, but other things that might be going on from a self-sabotage perspective and what drives you. Brittany, Elise, anything from you? Comments, questions?
Nope, this was just very informative, and it made me think about a lot more than I have already been doing. So thank you.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
Questions always gets me thinking. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, and I'll just ask a maybe somewhat generic question, but perhaps relevancy. This could be applied in all contexts. Is that true, Tree? Like, do you see relevancy in some places over others? Do you see it across all kinds of relationships in all contexts?
Yeah, and more now than ever. Like I find people are just, because of the life is going so quickly right now. Like it's like that we have two tracks running. We have like real life, real people, grocery shopping, driving, and then we have online. And there's like we have these two tracks. So now our nervous system, it's like it's overload. And so when we're in overload, it's hard to stay relevant because it's like being a ping pong ball between those two tracks. And so that's why it's so important about being relevant. Like, okay, what's the outcome and what's the relevancy? It's almost like going grocery shopping, and the outcome is fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and all of a sudden relevancy filter goes out the window and it's like, well, let's check every aisle, right? Meanwhile, you still got to pick up the kids, or you got to like do this or do that. It's like if the relevancy filter is not there, and people are going rogue, they're missing relationships. They're missing the relationship with themselves, with others. So the relevancy is so important more now than ever.
Okay, tangent question to that one. Is it ever okay to go rogue? Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah, like, and absolutely, it's good to go rogue so the relevancy of going rogue is when you need time off, right? Like I have this thing that I teach students and I call it effing off. And you want to pick it when it's relevant, right? If you need to F off, do it. Like, and that's looking after yourself. But if we are going rogue all the time, then nothing's really getting done, right? That's when we hide out. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you for indulging my questions.
Yeah, anytime.
As, and thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom with us. And obviously this community knows you well in this room. And I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate what you have to offer. Thanks so much, Tree. And thank you to everybody for being here. We hope you see you again soon. We have some upcoming talks on money mindset for entrepreneurs this month. Into next month, we're going to be talking about turning customer stories to drive sales, the myth of ADHD in the workplace, and some other topics. So wide variety of what there might be possible, but again, also looking to you if there's other topics that would be of interest and importance, and hope to see you again. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
All right. See you
Thank
later.
you.
Bye.
Bye.